Inspection of the day. Pops picked up a vehicle for $1,500, and it's got a lot of Redneck Engineering. Check it out. All right, before we point out the problems, we'll point out the Redneck Engineering. Let's go from there. First up, we've got ourselves a motor mount right here with a bunch of junk stuffed in it. I'm assuming it was rocking back and forth and somebody just hammered some crap in it. That's beautiful. This one I can't figure out. At first I was thinking cat anti-theft device, ratchet strap to the cradle on the exhaust. And then after seeing this chop job here on the flex pipe, I was like, maybe before they welded that in, they needed pressure going forward or something. I have no idea, but it's there. Coming back to the spare tire, somebody put a trailer tire on it. I mean, run it as long as, you know, it all bolts up and everything. But look at this. Cable clamp with a steel bar, because apparently somebody probably cut that off in the past when they get all seized and stuck on there, I'm assuming. But yeah, we had some creative previous owners on this one. So this tire and this tire match, and that's a different tire and that's a different tire, but they all have tread on them. So why, when it's front wheel drive, we're gonna rotate this tire up to there and bring that oddball out. That way we got matching tires on the drive line. That's always a plus. Shocks look pretty good, but coil spring peeling. There could be a hidden crack somewhere in this coil spring, quite possibly. Sometimes you don't even know they're there till they decompress. Been there before. Little bit of rust, brake noise here. Bearings all sound good. So maybe a little cleaning on the drums. Typical Michigan vehicle with all your exhaust joints rotting out. We got a little exhaust leak that somebody tried to probably use a Harbor Freight welder on right here. So we're gonna see if we can patch that up. I think we can.
I'm gonna use my Harbor Freight welder and show you what's up.
Yeah. All right, we're just starting to show a little bit of play in the outer tie rod back and forth this way. You can see the boot's destroyed, so we'll have to replace that for them. This wheel speed sensor harness was just dangling up in there, so somebody routed it wrong, or it was on this side. See how that boot split open? Maybe a big old stick or something caught up in here. See, that's the rest of the wheel speed sensor wire. Goes to your wheel speed sensor. Brakes have plenty of life, but the rotors are pretty scored up. But I did my test drive first, and the brakes didn't feel shaky. They stopped good, so for how grooved up it is, it feels really good for how it's driving. So we've got, looks like a OG sway bar link here, and replacement sway bar link on this side. And this has a little bit of play in it, so maybe they didn't get the nut tight enough or something. I know these are awkward angles, sway bar links. Go up to your strut. We got a little leakage. That strut will need to be replaced. Now I have no idea what this is. See, it doesn't look like a coil expander little piece. It looks like something that's just stuffed up in there or somehow found its way in there. I have no idea what this is. If anybody knows what this is, let me know. But nothing too dangerous so far, but we do have transmission fluid leak here. There's one drip there, one drip there, and I'm not sure exactly where it's coming from. Hopefully not from here. We'll spray it with brake cleaner and run it up in the air, see what's happening. And then a pretty massive oil leak, and you can see it stops at the heads. So I think maybe the harmonic balancer, the seal on the timing cover, is bad there and flicking it around. But then I looked over here, and it looks like our main drips are right off of this sensor. I think that's the crank sensor, but usually you see this from oil pressure sensors. They go out internally and start leaking good. And whatever they did to the exhaust pulled the O2 sensor wire and harness kind of taut. It's a little more taut than it should be. Little clamp job here with a piece of metal. So I want to start off with doing the CV axle, outer tie rod, identifying and fixing the trans leak and the large motor oil leak. Only like 137,000 miles. Our rockers, or our pinch is starting to rot out. But when you look at the frame of it, like everything's not all rusted out. So not too bad for a $1,500 fine, I would say. It runs really smooth up and down the road. We got a fuel line's been replaced. Brake lines look good. Shift's good. Power is right where it should be. I'd say this was needs a little work, but pretty fair deal. Looks like this O2 sensor started getting a bit rusty and took a hit on something. I'll bet you there's a decent chance that ain't working right. We got a nice little valve cover leak up in there on that front driver's corner of the valve cover. And just starting to leak up there on the backside valve cover there. Flash guard off, started cleaning it, and after a spray down and a wipe where I could with the cover on, I decided to take the cover off. And yeah, it definitely looks most wet right here. Gets leaking, and then the belt is spreading it all over the timing cover. You can see how clean it is once you hit the valve covers on this side. The valve cover looks clean. It's just all where the belt rides. This is a crank sensor, and there's a O-ring that seals it up. It could be dripping out of there while it's running. Could also be some small leaks on the timing cover oil pan, but we won't know till it's cleaned up and we let it sit and then run it and see what happens. Video for reference and explain what I did. Unclip this, so we'll have to clip this back in. Goes into these clippies. And unplug this sensor right here. Got a feeling it's leaking from the O-ring inside here or internally, possibly. Front timing cover seal looked good and dry before I even started cleaning it. Just kind of cleaned everything, like that gasket there for the timing cover, oil pan, just kind of cleaned everything. We may have to run it up in the air and see if it drips out once it's pressurized. Could be an oil pressure sensor, but I'm pretty sure that's a crank. So got all that cleaned, stopping at the valve covers, you know, so it's fitting up around here. So gonna have to clip this back in and that in before we pull it out. We can leave the cover off till we're ready to do the CV axle and everything. Did a little cleaning around here and here. I was a little suspicious of that oil dipstick, cleaned that off, and got the transmission side cleaned here on the line where it was and around here. And we'll see if any new drips happen overnight, but we'll probably have to run it to get some drips out of it. Before we run it, gotta hook those back up. That's the inspection of the day. Idles real smooth, no vibraties, and somebody did the motor mount, the one that always goes out on these already. Looks like it was just done. So, catch you later.